From the Middle is a founding member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to episode 146 of From the Middle. We're three middle-class guys living in the middle of America, in the middle chapters of our lives with a point of view somewhere in the middle. If you're searching for us on a podcast player, you might find us under genres like comedy, culture, entertainment, and interview. But if that doesn't tell you enough, we're just three guys hanging out trying to make you laugh and having some chuckles along the way. In this episode, Kendall is exposing his children to Star Wars and didn't quite get the reaction that he was hoping for, which begs the question, and we hope that you'll tell us. DM, email, voicemail, text. Have you ever tried to share something with a loved one and they just didn't get it? Something you really wanted them to get into? Well, we want to hear about it. We also talked about Corey's travels and a lot of stuff that we're watching. A little bit of WWE, a little bit of F1, some stand-up comedy, and some stuff on Disney+. So check out the episode and make sure you give us feedback on what you shared with a loved one that they just didn't get into. Here we go.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
Can I just say, Dylan has one of my favorite wits in podcast.
Oh, he's great, isn't he?
He's very funny.
So sharp.
I love that so much.
Today's a big day here at From the Middle podcast. Some of you know, if you've listened to our occasional sound bites that we seldom use, but we have at the ready, that there are two that I found with my name in them. And we've been doing Google searches to try to find if there are any sound bites in the entirety of the internet that we can use with the name Kendall and the name Dylan in them, just as funny little quips and little stingers we can play during the podcast. And we haven't found any until recently, thanks to our friends over at Grief Burrito, the gaming podcast. Let's play it again.
Can I hit you one more time?
Just dropping bags.
Can I just say, Dylan has one of my favorite wits in podcast.
Oh, he's great, isn't he?
He's very funny.
So sharp.
Man, that accent just makes the compliment that much more noteworthy.
And the jazz, the light jazz music in the background, soft jazz.
It's beautiful.
Isn't it nice?
I know that if the guys at Grief Burrito are listening to this, they're going to be like, wait a minute. That was from months ago.
That's right.
And it is. There was problems on my end, a.k.a. forgetting things.
Yeah.
As to why it hasn't gotten up. And in all fairness, I did attempt a couple of times.
That's
and
true.
Had like the wrong file types.
I mean, it was a little weird that Corey's got uploaded immediately with no issue, but seemed to be a lengthy delay on mine.
Story of your life.
But Grief Burrito boys, if you're listening, you've arrived because other people are taking snippets out of your show as little audio bits on others.
there you go.
And it's a wonderful thing.
So if you have some free time during your lunch break, listener, I encourage you to try to find a soundbite on the internet with the name Kendall in it. Perhaps Kendall Jenner. Is it Kendall Jenner?
Kendall Jenner, but that's the thing. Like, that was my first thought. And I'm sure that's what everybody's thinking. Well, surely you can find something Kendall Jenner. And I can't.
Nothing nice to say on the internet about Kendall Jenner.
Well,
apparently.
there's nothing. What you find is people use pronouns a lot. And so, like, I can't find a bite that uses Kendall without Jenner after it. Right?
Yeah.
So they're either saying Kendall Jenner this, or they're saying just she this.
I mean, I think you should just take one where they say she, and then you just record over top of that part and go,
Kendall.
He.
Or do one from their reality show, so they're just referring to each other on a first name basis. It's probably
Yeah, just watch hours and hours and hours of the Kardashian show.
Keeping up with the Kardashians, not Cardassians.
Not Kardashians.
Friends
not to be
in the
confused
Odd Pods Media Network.
with Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
It's good to be back in studio.
That's right.
Here he is.
We had a great episode last week with Ray the Barber.
that was
You have
fun.
a cool barber, man.
So
do.
good.
I'm legitimately excited to hit him up on what's that app again?
Booksy.
Booksy, and
app.
go get my beard trimmed and my head shaved because he does do razor shaves with the
He
head.
do, he
so
do.
that'll be
Yeah.
exciting.
So yeah, no, he's a great guy. He's cool. He's fun.
Had a lot of fun. Do you think he enjoyed it?
Oh yeah, I've talked
Cool.
to him since.
Oh,
Like
cool.
he was all about it.
Cool. Well, if you're still listening, Ray, we had fun with you last week, and thanks for tuning in yet again.
As a matter of fact, I finished the second season of C that we had talked about that he
Yeah.
had turned me on to, and
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I had not heard of it until I had talked to him, and I know that Dylan had mentioned before that he was looking for something to watch on Apple TV Plus,
Yeah,
and that might fit the bill, man.
it might.
It might.
Right after I watch back through Long Way Around, Long Way Down, and Long Way Up, because I started those again.
Okay,
All three again?
Well, not at the same time. I'm going to watch through all three.
he's got to play it.
I had a gap in between, like waiting for Moon Knight and
can't-
Obi-Wan.
Somebody can't get enough Ewan McGregor.
Man crush. Absolutely can't.
It's okay. I have one on the guy that plays the guy in C. What's his name?
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa.
Momoa.
Yeah, we talked about
That's
that.
totally fine.
You guys got any? What's been going on? What's been shaking bacon?
So I've recently tried again. This is now my second try of getting the kids to watch the Star Wars movies, right?
Yeah.
And we finished last week. We finished. What is it? Empire Strikes Back. And my whole life, I've been keeping the secret from my kids. And it gets to that scene, and I'm like, and they're like, we're like folding laundry and stuff, right? And so I'm like, guys, put your laundry down. You need to watch this. And I'm getting my phone out, and I'm ready to do the thing that you're supposed to do as a good dad, and videotape your kids finding out that Darth Vader is Luke's father, and they're like, it's like they didn't get it. There was no reaction whatsoever, just blank stares into the TV, like they were watching Paw Patrol. Like it was absolutely nothing. And then, so I'm like, guys, did you hear that? Like, what? Darth Vader is Luke's father? Yeah, I heard that.
Was there something else that we
was
missed?
that it? Like, oh, gosh.
Did you see Luke's overreaction to what that guy just said? No.
It was followed up with disbelief. And one of my boys, in the sweetest, kindest way, was so in that scene is Darth Vader trying to convince Luke to join the dark side, and that they can, as father and son, rule the galaxy. And my one son just doesn't want anybody to fight. And so he's like, that doesn't sound that bad. Those were his words.
Yeah.
Dad, that would be the path of least resistance.
Said Palpatine to Darth Vader.
At this juncture, with these characters in this moment. That's adorable.
Yeah.
It's funny too. You were talking about that. So the story, as Mark Hamill has told it, and probably George Lucas many times, is that they wrote a different line, and then only George Lucas, I think the director or producer, whoever wasn't George Lucas, one other guy, told Mark Hamill what was going to happen, what the real line was. I don't know. Maybe this is being a fan that I'm not a deep enough Star Wars fan, I guess. I never knew what the fake line was. I had only heard that there was a fake line.
Right.
And Mark Hamill was in an interview, I think, on the Graham Norton show, and he said the original line, when they handed him the script and the trailer right before they told him what was gonna be the real line, was
Okay.
Obi-Wan killed your father.
Oh.
And Mark Hamill for a second thought that was like, that's an incredible twist. Like, he's like, I wasn't even looking for a twist, but like, if Obi-Wan had killed my father, that already was an incredible twist.
Right.
And then they said, but that's not really what it's gonna be. And that's when they told him. I didn't know that's what it was, which I thought would have completely changed the franchise, obviously.
And in a way, is still true.
It is.
There you go.
I mean, it is. But like in Mark Hamill's mind in that moment, it was that Obi-Wan was actually a villain
Mm-hmm.
and not a good Jedi. But yes, it was true. But I found that really interesting. I had never heard that before. And so that was a fun interview.
Yeah.
So overall, what were their thoughts on Empire Strikes Back, even after the big reveal?
I mean, I feel like they're just it's not clicking with them or something. Like or I just feel like they ought to be way more excited than they are. So my oldest son, he wants to continue to watch the next movies, and then the twins are just kind of along for the ride.
But they're young. The twins are young, right?
Yeah, they're 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see if any of them make it to the prequel films, especially Episode 1.
We're ready to start them now.
Being a bit lighter.
Oh, they're fixing to crack up at Jar Jar Binks.
Yeah. So we watched Return of the Jedi today.
Okay. You'll have to report back with what they think of the prequels.
And
That's who it was built for.
The Ewoks are usually big hit with the kids.
Yeah, I mean nobody's really talking about them.
Okay.
No, the oldest son, he talks about Luke Skywalker. He talks up Luke Skywalker. So he's latched on to wanting to be Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that's good. But there were no oohs and ahs at the Ewoks or anything like that. It's been relatively disappointing. So,
do you think are your kids like my kiddo that like the first time she watches anything, it's unlikely she's going to enjoy it?
I could see I could see
and then
your
over
daughter
time
being disappointed or being disappointing in watching something like that.
Yeah, over time, like she went from very meh on Encanto to it's like one of her favorite movies now.
Okay.
So it's rare that she likes something the first time.
So I need
she
to
sees
make
it.
them watch him like 6 times.
I think that's what we're going for. Yeah. At least a half a dozen times and then see the reaction.
And I recommended Encanto strongly to your household
You
and
did.
was a little bummed after the first viewing. But I'm generally annoying to sit with if I have recommended a movie to you because I'm not looking at the movie. I'm looking at you like for the YouTube people watching. I'm excited to see you see the thing. And then if you don't react, I'm like, oh, come on.
Yes.
I don't
that's what
say
I
it,
feel.
but I think it.
That's what I feel. There's probably they probably are enjoying it. I'm just not seeing it because I'm not seeing enough of it.
My oldest, Lily, has 0 reactions during movies. And then the credits will roll and she's like, I loved that. Or that was hilarious. I'm like, then tell your face during the film so I can enjoy watching you watch this thing. There's that meme. I know we've referenced it on the podcast before. There's that meme of like a dad. And the quote above the dad is like, I want to share this film from my childhood with you. It was formative to my entire life and shaped the foundation upon which I build my life philosophies. And the kid is like, didn't like it. Karate chopping that quote bubble in midair.
Yeah.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm curious for anyone listening, what are the things you tried to show your kids that just didn't land?
Good question.
No matter how many times, movies, TV shows, maybe it was even like a favorite toy that you showed them that you really hoped that they would think was awesome.
Or like a sport that you've tried to get them into.
An old video game like that you loved that you just, I want to know.
Put this on Twitter. This is our Twitter thing.
Yeah, we'll put this out on all the social channels that you can easily interact with because I'm curious. There's got to be stories there.
Not just a film. Not just a
No,
film.
no, anything. I mean,
Board game.
video game, board game, toy, movie, TV show, something that you really tried.
Fishing.
Like it was a big deal for you and you really wanted your kids to get into it. I'm sure lots of dads have had kids that like never played football or never played basketball or whatever that.
Or never like got into watching it. I feel like that's the thing going on with the current generation is I feel like sports are going to get lost.
I was like, our dad's going to get on Twitter and just reply, sports.
Created an account just to respond.
Is that where you guys are? Like he tried to get you guys into sports and you just were like having none of it?
No, I don't think he cared truly at all. I just have this idea in my head that he was like, I really hope my sons play football. And we were like, show choir. And loved show choir.
And to be clear, it doesn't mean that you're complaining or that you aren't glad that your kid got into something else. It was just
quit qualifying.
It was no. I'm saying that
we
no,
want
no.
people to respond.
I'm saying that for the people we want to respond. That doesn't mean that we think that you're saying you don't love your children. We're just
No,
in that
that's
moment.
actually what I'm after.
In that moment is all we're talking about. Anyways,
This is an exercise to make us feel better as fathers. Is what
Yeah,
this is.
that's awesome. Well, keep trying. Don't stop
Yeah.
trying with the Star Wars with your kiddos.
I won't.
I think that's fun.
Speaking of you guys being brothers, where this thing come from? This TikTok come from? Where did you find it?
Okay, so we have a listener,
Billy.
Billy.
Yep.
Billy sent
Billy?
Billy?
Wow. That was a Wunderkind kind of thing.
Oh boy, this was an intro on one of our early episodes.
Was it?
Yeah. the Billy
You
Hello
remember
thing.
Kendall's like, that haunted my dreams for days.
So Billy.
Thank you, Billy.
Separately sent a TikTok video to Dylan and myself.
Right.
And to Dylan, he said, I think I found a video of your doppelganger. And then to me, he sent the same video and said, I think I found a video of your doppelganger. your brothers. Did I say it right?
Yeah, essentially. I think we both either read it wrong or he specifically typed it in a way that we would both get it and think it was about the other brother.
Or he
Right.
forgot his comma when
Or
he
a
wrote,
comma, and we, like we said, we read it
your
wrong.
doppelganger, Corey.
It's funnier if he sent it to
your
us
brother.
to try to make us think it was the other one.
Or he confused our names, which does happen
Yeah.
quite a bit, especially for teachers who had each of us. Okay, so
Okay.
we're going to share this video,
Yeah.
and Kendall has seen this
4-finger swipe here, which is actually a bathroom maneuver.
in certain parts of the world.
All right,
Is it on screen?
it's on screen.
Okay, so go to YouTube and subscribe and hit the dingy bell and then watch this.
So we can talk over it. I mean, the audio.
Well, we can't probably play the audio, can we?
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
So we're looking at this dude. Bass far.
I think he's German.
But anyway, so what he's doing is he's got. All right, we just found Rick Astley.
Okay.
He sings "Living on a Prayer," but he starts with
Metallica
riff, and
Yum.
thank you. Enter Sandman, I think, is the riff, and then he starts singing "Living on a Prayer," which is really cool. But the point is, we're looking at this guy, and you guys think it's each other, right? Or what's the debate here?
Okay, you start. You start.
Well, I assumed it was about him because he sang a Bon Jovi solo in show choir in high school. So I just assumed that that's what Billy was pointing out. It's really hard to say that without going, Billy?
I didn't think of the song at all and was just looking at the face. And so I thought, oh, for sure he's talking about Dylan.
Right.
Not the whole time, but he makes a couple faces that to me are just Dylan with the goatee. I mean, it is like uncanny in my mind.
Okay.
Study faces for a living, do caricatures and portraits artists, just saying.
I think that generally speaking, it looks a lot like Dylan.
Okay.
However, as soon as you start watching him singing and the way he's doing things, it becomes Corey. So right now I'm just looking at a still photo of the guy, and he kind of it looks like Dylan. But if I were to hit play, he would turn into Corey, and that is. Let me see. I'm zoomed in quite a bit here.
So I shared it with our mom,
Okay.
and her response was, maybe if you used one of those, I said, Dylan, no. And she said, maybe if you used one of those face manipulation things.
And he's wearing a flat brimmed hat, which is not something Dylan would do.
Yeah.
So with there's three different views here. The one where he's wearing the hat is totally Corey.
Whoops. I'm accidentally playing it. Didn't mean to do that.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's fun. So she said, depending on his facial expression after she said that it kind of looks like either of you. So even our mother is from the middle.
Generally speaking, Dylan.
All right.
But then he reminds me of Corey.
Well,
that's my thought.
That's fun. So, how are we on time? So I had an interesting travel story, and I promise I'm not going to be the guy who tells all of his travel stories.
That's why we have a podcast, dude.
But
you should.
the regularity with which issues are happening on flights is becoming comical. Like I feel like I'm on a hidden camera show. Because the last 3 trips now, there's been issues, and we've talked about them on separate podcasts. So I'm going out to Seattle this past week to meet my team for the first time in a year and a half since I joined Amazon. So I've worked with these people for 18 months, and I'm going to meet them for a team meeting. So we're having an offsite, internal meetings, talking about our strategy, what we want to do, with a lot of fun activities and dinners thrown in. So there's not the pressure of this trip being a customer engagement. This is just team meeting, hang out with the team, get to know each other, blah, blah, blah. So I'm flying out of Columbus with a direct flight to Seattle. We're supposed to depart at 6:15 Columbus local time. And we board the plane. We're not leaving. Everybody's in their seats. We're not leaving. We're not leaving. It's getting warm on the plane because its sun is still out. We're not leaving. The captain comes on and says, sorry, folks. We understand it's getting pretty hot on the plane. Unfortunately, blah, blah, blah. We're just going to have to shut all of the windows and do our best because there's no way to get you cold air right now. So stay patient. Doesn't say what the issue is. Before I got on the plane, there was a couple, and she was opening one of those metal water bottles, and the top popped off, and it sounded like a gun. And so everyone at the gate kind of freaked out.
Yeah.
I sat by that lady. And when she sat in my row, just to like make some rapport, break the ice, I said, smuggling champagne onto the plane, are we? Just because I knew she had popped the top off of her bottle.
Right.
And she laughed, and we hit it off. And I found out that they were each plainclothes flight attendants. I don't know if on that airline or another airline, but they're flight attendants in regular clothes, and they're married. So I hit it off with them. And so I'm trying to talk to them, like, what do you think's going on? Right.
Right.
We've been here for we're supposed to depart like 30 minutes ago. They're like, I don't know. So then they're like, folks, we're doing the best we can. Flight attendants, crew, captain, doesn't matter. We're doing the best we can. We're trying to get out of here. Sorry. We're aware some of you have tight connections. Still don't tell us what's going on. And it's getting hot.
Yeah.
There are crying babies on the plane. Mothers are stripping the clothes off of their babies because the babies are getting overheated and crying. Yeah. What is going on? So they finally tell us. So folks, it's been about 45 minutes, whatever. So there's this third-party company called MedLink. And MedLink is the service that flight crews call if a passenger has a medical issue mid-flight. It's like a 911 for flight crews, and they talk you through what to do with the passenger based on whatever symptoms they're having. But once you initiate that service, you cannot cancel it or stop it until the matter is resolved. So they're like, we've got an issue with a passenger. We're on the phone with MedLink, and we can't leave until we resolve this issue with this passenger. So what we're going to do is let you all go back into the airport if you'd like, so you can deplane if you want, because we don't know how long this is going to take. And we'll let you just stay close by. If you want to just go home, we'll try to get you another flight. You can just go to one of the restaurants or shop around. We'll let you know when to come back. And I'm just like, oh, God. So the couple next to me, they're like, we'll figure out what's going on. And they leave, right? So they go outside, and this has now been almost 2 hours.
Okay.
They call everybody back, and they said, we think we figured out what happened. Mm-hmm. There was a passenger not on the plane this entire 2 hours, just talking with the gate agent, who was dripping sweat, coughing a dry cough, and like dizzy, and they're like, he's probably not fit to fly, but he was trying to apparently say, I'm good to fly, and they were saying, no, you aren't. You're not getting on the plane. But this whole time, he was in there. He was never even on the plane. So I'm like, can you stay on the phone with them? Well, can we go? And he gets on a different flight? I had never heard of anything like that before.
Man.
But they came back on and they're like, yeah, so apparently this guy's like hacking up a lung and he's all sweaty. And like, so that was the issue. I had never heard of this service or a person holding up a plane that wasn't even on the plane. 2 hours in a hot plane.
Obviously, none of us know how these things work, but I would think if the guy's not even on the plane yet,
right,
that they would call, like knowing that this is an issue. If you call this service, that the plane can't leave now for a while, like you would think that they would just call someone else then at that point.
Yeah, and maybe the minute he stepped on, they were like, "Sir, are you feeling okay?" And he's like, "Well, actually, I have a fever of 104, and I can't stop coughing." And they were like, why don't you take a few 9, 12?
I don't know if you've read the news, but you're not welcome on this plane.
So anyway, fun adventures. Here's how cool the couple next to me is, though. Because when they came back from the bar, that time we were allowed to deplane and get back, I said, you didn't bring me back anything? As a joke, again, to be funny. And then the guy goes, we'll take care of you. So when they did the first drink service, he's like, he'll have an extra Jack Daniels. And the lady was like, is that okay with you? And he goes, of course it's okay with him. So they put it on his credit card. And I thought that was very kind
amazing.
of them. Yeah, super nice folks. And they made the experience a lot more tolerable. But yeah, adventures in flying. My goodness, this is going to be a recurring segment that we have.
I feel like the most obvious Star Trek-y answer is the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few.
No, Dylan.
And if the guy or the girl is still in the airport and you're telling everybody else they might have to get refunds or reschedule flights, just reschedule the one person.
Right.
Like, again, I don't know how any of this works. Somebody could be like, it's an FAA regulation. It becomes a federal, crime if you take off once you did okay, fine. We're from the middle. We don't know all the rules. But like that feels like the most obvious. Let the dude just stay there and figure out a different flight.
I thought when you started that you were saying the needs of the entire flight outweigh the needs of the Corey who just wants to get to Seattle on time.
No. If the one person holding it up is not even on the plane, let the plane take off.
Yeah,
that's obvious. But again, like their issue was unfortunately a procedural one. Like people make these rules and regulations that have to be followed to a T, and then
it's a felony,
this is what happens, right?
So we didn't land in Seattle until 10 local time, and a lot of people now had to spend the night.
Yeah,
because there were no longer like flights, connecting flights for the rest of the day because of this 2-hour wait on a hot plane. Fun times. I stayed really calm. Therapy's been amazing the last 18 months. I'm learning a lot about the difference between reacting and responding. I'm learning a lot about what you can control and what you can't control. And so I popped 38 Stella mints, had a couple Jack Daniels, and was good to go. No, I'm kidding, mother. I had 2, like a responsible adult. So yeah, that was fun.
I mean, don't learn too much because there's some comedy in the anger.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we're gonna keep hoping for horrible flight experiences.
There's a reason.
Guys.
There's a reason Seinfeld and Sebastian Maniscalco are so funny.
Yeah,
there's seething anger under this.
Exactly.
That
I'm going to
humor.
call up John Glenn and be like, all right, you guys need to be a little, whenever Corey Hubble enters your facility, just whatever you need to do to make his life
jack him up.
It's now going to get to the point where I'm shocked if everything goes according to schedule. I'll just like roll my eyes and go, yep, see, this is what happens.
Man. See, I don't have stories like that. I've not flown nearly as much as you have, but my most interesting airport story is trying to lug car seats through an airport.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you don't have like TSA pre-check or clear or anything like that.
I don't.
Okay, and you know a flight...
Amy has had it.
Okay, and you know a flight boards 30 minutes before your departure time, right?
Ish, yeah.
So what time do you like to comfortably, you personally, like to get to the airport Working backwards from your departure time.
These days, about an hour and a half.
An hour and a half from departure time. So an hour
From
before
departure.
boarding.
Yeah, and I've never had an issue with that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I choose not to travel on holidays
Yeah.
and such, and so I've never experienced a crammed airport like you see on TV sometimes, or like you show up 6 hours early. Look at this line.
Yeah.
I've never had that kind of line before.
I think I've told this story on the podcast. I remember the day I decided to get TSA pre-check.
Yeah.
And that's the day I left Columbus for Toronto. At the same time, everyone from the Arnold Fitness Classic was going home. And the line, if you know the Columbus airport, the line was from the middle terminal B all the way back to the escalators from the parking garage.
Wow.
And there was like 4 people
That's
in the
crazy.
pre-check line. And I was like, I'm doing that. Whatever it takes to get that. It's like $80 in an interview.
For a year?
For 5 years.
For 5 years?
For 5 years.
As much as you travel, that's a no-brainer.
Oh,
and then global entry is that, but for international flying. So that the equivalent of that, but for international. Big background check, maybe like $120. And I'm like, that's a no-brainer. So many times. And it happened this past week. The line for regular security is like 50 to 75 people. 5-6 people in the pre-check line.
Well, see, and
You don't take your coat off. You don't remove your shoes. They don't look in your bags.
Yeah.
I mean, manually.
I think it must just be the times of day and times of year that I fly, but like I've never seen 50, 75 people in a security line ever.
Yeah.
I've seen like 20 tops.
Yeah.
Most of the time I'm pretty close to just walking up.
Monday mornings aren't your friend.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm probably, it probably just is like time because I'm cheap too. Right.
Yeah.
So
I'm not agreeing with that. I'm acknowledging your comment.
no, it's okay. It's all right.
Speaking of travel, have you guys been in a Tesla?
I want to.
Of course.
I want one so bad.
Even just sat in one, like
all the time.
Stop. Have you even seen one? I mean, like the inside of
Yes,
one.
I've seen, not in person. I've watched a lot of videos and a lot of walkthroughs and reviews.
So,
I have seen inside one.
Jordan, I'm not bougie, but I got an Uber that happened to be a Tesla in Seattle.
Of course you did.
I didn't specifically say.
Well, I was in Seattle.
I demand a Tesla.
I prepaid with my Amex Black, and a Tesla just showed up.
From my direct flight.
Guys, that's not how it happened.
I made friends with the flight attendants and got 2 Jack Daniels for free.
So I get in this Tesla.
Yes.
And the center console is like a massive display.
Mm-hmm.
And the dash is pretty flat. And then it's not like they don't try to do fancy curves. It's like flat dash, big display, center console.
Right.
And I had never seen this before on the big center console. The whole left side, so the right side is like your music and navigation and stuff. But then the left side of the screen is a gray representation, 3D model of the vehicle. And it senses pedestrians and other cars on that screen to the degree that it matches people's steps.
Wow.
And when a vehicle is like going into another lane, even a person on a bicycle, it picked up and did a 3D model on the screen of all of those things happening at once around the vehicle within a certain radius. And I was like, that's one of the cool. I mean, I know that's just one of its many amazing features.
Right, yeah.
But I'd never seen that before.
Sure.
And since this is From the Middle podcast and we're in Central Ohio, that's not something you see a ton of. So I think it's fun when I go out and do these little adventures that I'm like amazed by little things like that. It's pretty incredible. They can dance and change color now and all kind of things. But yeah,
It's like the future is here.
that's what it feels
is,
like.
Man.
It's pretty cool. Anyway,
I want a Tesla. That's what I want. I'm hoping to hang on to the 300 long enough that Teslas get within my price range. That's my goal. Or Chrysler, because the Chrysler 300 is probably on its way out the door. And they haven't updated it in like 8 years. And people think it's on the way back. And I'm telling people this. I love the styling of the Chrysler 300.
Yeah.
I would love to own another one when this one dies. And if people at Chrysler, just listen to my words, Chrysler 300E.
keep it going with the E.
That's what they need
That's
to
where
do.
it's at.
There needs to be a Chrysler 300E. That needs to be Chrysler's edge into a fully electric vehicle. Use the 300 frame to do that. And
I hope that happens for you, buddy.
I will buy one.
I hope it gets even more boxy, like a
It used to be more boxy,
Bentley
actually.
Continental Flying Spur, or I hope it goes back to that.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me too.
like that more mafioso look.
Me too.
Here's how non-bougie I am. When he dropped me off at the office, I didn't know how to get out. He's like, just push the button, and I pushed the button. He's like, well, and you have to push.
and then push the door.
And then the handles on the exterior.
Of course, Corey was like, why doesn't the door open for me?
No umbrella to pop out? That's only a Rolls-Royce Phantom? Okay, fine. On the exterior, the handles are flush with the door panel.
Yeah.
And you push on one end and then they pop out.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to get in either. So I'm not experienced with these schwanky things.
Yeah.
But anyway. Feels like a good time to hear from one of our friends in the Odd Pods Media Network, doesn't it?
It sure does.
All right. Let's do that.
I'm Rob.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Joe.
I love it.
I think it's kind of meh.
And I've never seen it.
We're keeping up with the Cardassians.
A podcast covering 7 seasons of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
But that's not it. We go down the wormhole
Of pop culture, life, and Garrick.
New episodes every Monday.
On your favorite podcasting platforms. You can also interact with the show on Twitter at CardassiansPod.
And just like the Ferengi, we can't wait to stroke your lobes.
Man, that show. Real great, huh?
It's one of the best.
One of the best ever.
Keep doing your thing, guys. That thing you do so well. That voodoo that you do.
Oh. Okay.
Dylan.
So.
Haven't heard much from you today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tell us a joke.
Tell us a dance, monkey. Tell us something funny. I don't have any jokes.
Do you play bass?
No.
Okay.
I got nothing. It's funny. There's not been a ton going on. I didn't have any stories for the front half of the episode. Anything new? I've been doing some streaming, right?
Let's do it.
And actually even a lot of the streaming has been like rewatch. I mentioned in the very beginning, like going back through a long way around, long way down and long way up, which if you haven't watched them, they're on Apple TV Plus with Ewan McGregor and Charlie Boorman. They're incredibly interesting docuseries that you should absolutely check out. Even if you're not into what the show is about, which is them traveling the world on motorcycles, you don't have to necessarily be into those guys, into motorcycles, or into travelogues to still enjoy the documentary.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor, you say, eh?
Yeah.
So Bree's watching it with you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, he's easy on the eyes. So that's been a lot of streaming. We did watch Turning Red. I feel like was one of those that just got a huge like reaction, like kind of almost like love-hate with Disney Plus. I feel like a lot of what I've seen has been love-hate with it. Maybe not hate, but like love, didn't understand it at all. It's one or the other. Maybe not hate, but I think we were actually kind of in the middle on it. I think it was fine. It was enjoyable. It has a specific audience. Corey, you watched it, right? Kendall, did you see it?
Yeah, I watched
Turning
it.
Red. Or were you guys?
I saw it on opening day.
Yeah, isn't that the one that you said you almost fell asleep during?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was something else.
Okay. Another kids animated something.
Maybe.
I don't know. Was that Encanto?
I have not seen Encanto.
Now I need to watch Encanto. So what were your
Only
thoughts?
if my kids drag me into it.
Yeah.
I feel like it was Turning Red. But Corey, what did you think of it?
I'm a massive Pixar fan, and I just don't understand. I enjoyed. I was entertained. I laughed. I thought there were aspects of it that were good for my 15 and 12-year-old daughter to watch with their mom in the room. Good conversation starters. But it was a very, very, very specific feeling movie.
Mm-hmm.
A Chinese girl in Canada at the age she was at, beginning, puberty and struggling to fit in. And in that way, I think many can relate. But it was just it felt very, very specific to a very specific subset of culture. And even in the ways that you could bubble up the themes to higher ideas or questions. It was an interesting choice. And I think after Soul and that one, and there's another one that's not coming to me right now, it's just interesting. And Sherry, I think, said this well. She's like, it feels like Toy Story. Your 4-year-old could watch that, and you could enjoy watching that with your grandparents who would also be enjoying it. Mm-hmm. Turning Red is not that
right
at all. Like, little kids are like, what's going on? They'd, of course, laugh at the slapstick stuff.
Right.
But then you wouldn't watch Turning Red with grandparents in the room. Like, some of it is a little edgier for like teen angst and like defying your parents, and it starts out unhealthy way, but then what are the healthy boundaries between your parents' expectations? It's just, I don't know. And then I watched the making of, and I'm not going to get political, but some of the choices in the movie made a little more sense when you understood the creative minds behind it and what they want, the story they wanted to tell. Yeah. And so you saw that lineup and you go, okay, makes sense. I appreciate what they're trying to do. It's just an interesting choice for a studio that's put out stuff like Toy Story and Monsters Inc. and The Incredibles and stuff like that.
I think after watching it and reading a lot of the feedback, good and bad, I think at best it's probably a mostly female audience. At worst, it's a very niched young teenage, maybe with their moms, maybe their mom's mom, the grandma, maybe. I don't get that. I don't get the idea that it encourages kids to rebel. I don't think that didn't feel like the message to me. I think it felt like there's part of becoming your own person. I could see what they're saying, but I don't think it encouraged it.
Oh, I have some friends on Facebook that just took the opening scene alone and went, this is what Disney and Pixar is teaching our children?
Yeah.
So,
well, I think the best comment that I saw that I agreed with was, I think this would have been a much better story told as like an Inside Out 2. With already established the little characters that represent different emotions and bouncing, that time of life being told bouncing around so quickly. They could have, used those again, but for they could have even used the same character.
Wow, that's a great point.
And I thought, yeah, that makes the most, like, you would have already had this established world, but with a new character and new little emotions that you're dealing with for a different time of life.
So I have a question for you guys, serious question. If you guys did not have children, would you still have watched this movie?
I would have.
I'm just curious.
There's that.
It amazes me, like, still.
Yeah.
It's a world that I just can't get into, adults watching kids' movies.
We've talked about that.
I know there's a lot of you out there.
Not as creepy as adults going to Disney alone.
Okay, true.
A little different. Like alone, or like alone, just like an adult couple without kids.
Yes.
You mean both? Okay. Well,
either one of those.
I think there was something about our childhood that it was so normal to just watch cartoons, and then we just stayed into things that we were into. And we've kind of talked about this on the podcast before, like being geeky kind of became cool. Well, part of being geeky was also owning that you liked the 90s Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men cartoons, and that you might have gotten into.
Well, no, but that's different from Disney.
The Clone Wars. But it's all kind of, is, I feel like maybe it just allowing for one, you kind of allow for all.
Maybe. I'm wondering to how many people that's true, because in my mind there's a separation between like following the superhero stuff and like still watching Disney movies as an adult. Like, that's two different worlds in my book.
I get that.
I have a better excuse because
you don't need an excuse. This is
no, I know. I was a joke. Because of my love of art and storytelling, and even though I don't do it as much in my day job as I thought I might be, I would stay interested in the mainstream animated things because that's the field that I was sort of in, but wanted to go into for so long. And that's how I became a fan of Pixar. So I like watching their stuff just to see how the studio evolves. and how they give these younger filmmakers, they allow them to create these stories and they experiment at the studios, and then they're like, great, let's put a crew behind you and make it real. And they almost compete internally for crew and dollars and to make it real. So they have multiple going at once. And Inside Out 2 might be another one, which is why they didn't do it that way. But I that's one of the most thoughtful comment I've seen about that. That would have been that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think part of it too, as the non-artist who doesn't have that to hide behind, I think part of it too is like Pixar specifically. I don't watch all animated stuff that are kids movies. I think Pixar has established themselves as somebody who can competently make films for adults and children at the same time. And maybe you wouldn't say that always about DreamWorks or about whoever else is making animated films. It's really just almost like Pixar that gets the benefit of the doubt. And I'll watch the animated Star Wars because it's Star Wars.
Right.
So like, I mean, I don't know what animated Marvel cartoons are on Disney Plus. I haven't watched any of them. I wouldn't know. So it's not all stuff, but I think Disney and Pixar kind of get the benefit of the doubt because they've done a good job. Like, Encanto's literally an interesting movie, and there's certainly themes in there that are well beyond what any children are thinking about. Like, it's clearly not just a movie for children, despite being animated. So I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's the other part of it.
Let's talk about stuff definitely not for kids.
Yeah. Wow. Talk about going from Disney and Pixar. So Taylor Tomlinson, we've talked about her before. On the podcast.
I was supposed to go see her show, Connor. Go ahead.
So we've talked about her on the podcast before, and she has a new special, Look at You, on Netflix. Now I'll be honest. I started one of her other specials.
Quarter Life Crisis.
Quarter Life Crisis.
I was trying to help you out.
I got about 5 or 10 minutes in. I think I turned it off. But this one, we tried it, and much better. She's a much more competent comedy writer than I felt like she was for Quarter Life Crisis. And I even watched this one and then went back to Quarter Life Crisis and did enjoy it more because I think I started to understand her sense of humor. But huge disclaimer up front, this is absolutely not for kids. It is at parts very crass and really dark comedy at several points, but very funny. She's very smart. She's very good at using physical comedy and her mannerisms to add to the humor. And we laughed a lot. It was very good.
Yeah. So Kendall gave me a look when I made that joke about Connor. So that was the show I was supposed to go to, downtown Columbus.
Yeah.
It was the wrong date because my cousin numbers are hard. So anyway, I was supposed to see her show.
Right. Yeah.
That was the show. That was the tour. So that was a joke. And Connor knows I'm joking and that I love him in spite of his mistakes, because he loves me in spite of mine. So anyway, but yeah, it was great. And I'm just a fan. She's just so smart. And I've said this before, even if something is a little crass or a little dark or even a little blue in terms of its tone, I see that stuff for what it is. Even, she lost her mom, for example, and makes some jokes about that. Yeah. And the crowd reacts to her making jokes about that. And she's like, my mom would be thrilled because she's in heaven and I'm on Netflix. It all worked out. Like that's a really tricky thing to navigate and then get the crowd on your side.
Yeah.
To do stuff like that you're just like, wow, that takes some serious working the room skills.
Right.
And writing skills to make that happen. And I think she's great. Yeah. So, and she's dating Sam Morrell, who's another comic. So, yeah, it's really cool.
What do you think that living room is like? I'm going to use a specific room. What do you think that living room is like at the end of the day when they're both they're not talking to each other because they're both so drained from just shows?
That's the episode. You know how it goes.
Like any other, they're both staring at their phones.
Yeah, that's probably true. So that was something else. Definitely for fans that are up for any kind of stand up, go check it out. But not if you like the cleaner stuff. Only really one other thing, and I was curious if anyone's watching again. all the Marvel Netflix shows, so Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Defenders, Punisher, all of that has moved to Disney Plus. So Netflix helped create it, didn't have a contract forever. It's now in Disney's hands, so it's on Disney Plus. Disney Plus even added a new mature content setting, specifically like for those, and probably Moon Knight that's coming out. And so I'm curious if anybody's going back to watch those, because we're in this weird place where, spoiler alert for Spider-Man No Way Home, we know Daredevil is canon. If you've watched Hawkeye, we know Kingpin is canon. Vincent D'Onofrio played Kingpin in Daredevil. So it's this weird, but nothing else has been confirmed. We don't technically know if those shows are canon, even though two of the characters are reprising roles. So maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But that's a whole new audience again. So whoever didn't have Netflix that now has Disney Plus, they also picked up like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is now on there, and Agent Carter. And so there's a ton more Marvel content on Disney Plus now. I didn't know if you guys were watching, had ever watched, or for the listeners too, same question, because we're in a gray area with whether that content ties into the MCU or not.
Right. I've not watched any. I had started Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Same.
But I mean, I didn't get 2 episodes in.
I couldn't stick with it. I lasted longer, but I couldn't stick with it.
But that's been it for me. I would say that I will probably get into those just because they're there eventually. But I don't have plans. Yeah.
From a quality standpoint, if we're doing the 1 to 10 scale, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s like a 3 and Daredevil's like a 9.5.
No,
like not even close.
High praise.
Just
have you watched most of these?
I've watched. So my daughter came along somewhere towards the end of all of those seasons coming out.
Okay,
and there's even rumors that Disney might be either rebooting Daredevil with the same actor or picking up and creating a 4th season. So I think I've seen everything but Punisher, the 2 seasons of Punisher, and the last season of Daredevil. So I've watched most of it. And the quality is far and away better. It's much more like WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but even grittier and darker.
Okay.
This is the darkest up to before Moon Knight. This is the darkest part of the MCU, if it is in the MCU by far.
Yeah.
But Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to me was like, didn't know what it was trying to do. I think I got 3 or 4 seasons into that, and I couldn't watch anymore. But I'm just curious, because it is like Disney literally added the mature rating pretty much to get these shows on there. Because you're going to see stuff that you've not seen in any Marvel movie from a kind of edgy, gritty standpoint. So anyways, if anyone's listening, let me know if you're watching, and don't flip on Daredevil for your 10-year-old. That is absolutely not who those shows are built for. I believe at one point Jessica Jones and Luke Cage find a different room in the house and break a headboard. So like,
Heyo.
totally different kinds of
I'm
shows.
pretty sure I walked by their room.
Yeah.
So let me pick up on the superhero thing, because I'm with Kendall. I haven't watched any of that stuff. But to flip to the world of DC, Dom Monahan from The Friendship Onion was on Tiger Belly this past week, I believe, and gave the best review of the Batman for the positive that I've heard.
Okay.
Going back to 3 specific runs of graphic novels that much of this film is based on, that a lot of people don't realize, that really harkens back to that greatest detective moniker that Batman has, in addition to being what Ray the Barber said he wanted him to be. So if nothing else, find the clip of Dom Monahan talking about the Batman and why he actually really, really liked it, because that was almost enough to sell me, in spite of what happened on our show last week, to go check it out, which we weren't hating on it. It wasn't the Batman we wanted to see. But that was such a thoughtful review, and it just, as someone who's read a lot more of the graphic novels than I have, and it made me want to check it out just from hearing one of the hobbits talk about it. So
Yeah, there you go.
What a world we live in where we've got hobbits reviewing Batman movies.
Yeah,
Gosh, it's
beautiful.
so good.
so great.
So when Ray was talking to me about the Batman, he had told me, he's like, you still should see it. He's like, this is just what I'm saying. But he did make the point to say, like, I could understand people liking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we were pretty fair. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of what we do. The disclaimer right up front with Ray was the vast majority of people liked it and had positive reviews.
Exactly. Yeah.
We had on a different take.
And oddly enough, like Ray has been a comic book reader, right? So he is the one who knows the story and then wants to see it in theaters. And so if it's true that it was pulled a little bit more directly out of the graphic novel world, I'm sure that
I think they're the Frank Miller versions, and they said some of the scenes which Sin City was based off
Right.
of.
okay.
Which they say some are shot for shot of the comic panel in the film. Like they replicated actual panels from the graphic novel. So
I'm excited to watch it eventually.
Yeah, I think
I
if
haven't
we-
even looked into how I can watch it yet.
yeah,
It'll
same.
be on HBO. I think it's one of those
Will it?
45-day, 60-day things.
All
So
right.
once
So I'll
once
have
it
to-
hits, we'll have to watch and give like a 2-sentence review.
I'll have to trial HBO for a little bit.
Yeah.
I've gone
hook
back
you.
and I started watching the Batmans again. So I went all the way back to Michael Keaton,
Starting with Tim Burton. Nice.
starting with Tim Burton, Batman Forever. I've gotten up to Batman and Robin.
Nice.
So I just watched George Clooney.
It's all
today.
downhill. No, just kidding. I think
I've
it's got-
seen them all before, except
Yeah.
for like I haven't seen Joker yet, actually. But
I think the critic score on that one, the Batman, is like 83 or something. And like Dark Knight, for comparison, is like 95, 98.
yeah,
So, I mean, people enjoy it. In the world of sports. NCAA March Madness. Who's watching college basketball?
this guy is.
And Sherry. So you guys know.
Guys aren't?
No.
Dylan, you're not?
I haven't yet. I'm third in the pool that I'm in at work, but I haven't got to watch any.
You haven't watched any?
I've not watched any.
Dude.
For
But
Sherry.
I'm
It's
third, and there's
this season
$100
has
on
had-
the line.
It's had all of the excitement that other seasons have had. It's crazy. There's been a couple of crazy games. I'll just say that. Watched Baylor come back from 25 down to lose in overtime, but that was anyway. There's been really exciting games like that to watch.
That's awesome.
Sherry tells me there has been. You know, this is her second favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
I take the kids to a hotel for the weekend, which was
Yeah.
this past weekend.
Right.
So I land in Columbus, drive home, move my suitcase from one vehicle to the other, have all three kids jump in the car and leave to go to a hotel for 2 nights so Sherry can have the house to herself to watch it. She's been enjoying. And, they're, coming in at the end of the regular season, Coach K's last game.
Yeah.
I actually watched that. They lost that game, but they're still in the tournament.
They're in it now. The Sweet 16. now.
So watching Coach K in his last season, do you know, for the last Duke home game, which was just a few weeks ago, what is this, March? Okay, so people had camped outside since the end of January to get student section tickets.
Wow.
Duke students camped outside at the end of January.
That's crazy.
Beginning in the end of January for a game that was going to happen in
When were they able to buy tickets?
that's probably the better question.
Yeah.
But still had camped out.
They camped out. I mean, yeah.
If you're camping out that
I
long,
guess if
that's
you
a-
have
that's
a
big poop
group of
bucket.
friends and you're able to take shifts doing it, then it can become
I
part
was
of your
like,
daily
that's
routine.
crazy. Because I guess I was thinking they just walked right into the stadium for like will call student section tickets, but maybe that's not how it went down. Anyway, I'll look it up. I'll fact check. We'll bring back fact checking. We haven't done that in 200 episodes.
And we need to share the Dominic Monaghan clip too.
Oh yeah,
We need
and
to share that one.
that also made me want to watch their podcast, Friendship Onion.
It's nice.
So, like
They've
they
had
need
so
another
many
one.
guests. If you're going to do it, just tune in for one of the guests from the cast or from the movies that you like the most.
Yeah.
And you get a good sense of, like, they had Elijah Wood on as a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Well, if you like Elijah Wood, that's a good one to jump into.
Speaking of the Long Way series on Apple TV and
So
British
good.
people, Charlie Boorman was on the starting grid for the F1 race that happened this past weekend.
Oh, Oh,
which reminds me, the first race of the season in Bahrain, which reminds me that I binged the fourth season of Drive to Survive, Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix while I was on those flights. So that's like 10 episodes, and I watched all of it. So here's, if you don't remember, I binged the first 3 seasons of Drive to Survive. When I finished season 3, it coincided with the last 2 races of this past season, which ended in dramatic fashion.
Yep.
But I now appreciated all the craziness that was going on in the 2021 season to lead to that dramatic finish, which I already understood was like, it was all coming down to the last race.
yeah.
But then I got to watch season 4 of Drive to Survive, which covered all of that
Right.
that I got to see at the end of the 2021 season. So now we've started the 2022 season. The cars are completely different. Some drivers have moved around. Some teams have changed. And it's fun. I'm enjoying it.
Dude, awesome.
I think I might be doing this for a little bit longer.
Cool.
Well, now that we know Charlie's into F1 too, he's been asking to come on the show. Now we'll have to have
We'll
him
reach out
on.
to Charlie and see
So
what's
we
up.
can talk about long way series.
He
and
rides
F1
bikes,
and-
F1, his acting career, being friends with Ewan, see if he can get Ewan on,
Yep,
all the things.
I think that's important now.
Anything in the world of WWE that you want to report on?
No, there's nothing horribly exciting going on right now. We had the rare situation where there was an actual injury that happened in real life. Big E broke his neck.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that happened, I think, last week.
Is he still with the
New Day.
New Day?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're still a thing. They're not quite as cohesive as a group anymore. So it's not very often that you see like all 3 or 4 of them come out with
Kofi.
the music and the But Kofi is still the biggest standout among them. Yeah, I mean, there's been tag team stuff, and there's been a lot of singles stuff with Big E and Kofi doing singles stuff. But as far as, like I said, the air of like the trombone playing and confetti falling, kind of
Throwing pancakes?
throwing pancakes, like haven't seen that in a long time. No, that's what's his name? Annoying YouTuber. Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Logan Paul is involved now.
Oh, he's boxing.
He's
doing WWE.
WWE. He's going to do a tag team match, I think, at WrestleMania with The Miz as his partner.
I've never watched a single Logan Paul video. He has a brother too. That's
a star. I mean, there's
for
a thing
some
there.
reason.
I don't know.
Okay, we don't have to talk about
So
them.
yeah, there oddly hasn't been nothing huge yet.
Well, I didn't catch it, but UFC was this past weekend, and there's this fighter that has a lot of hype around him. His name's Paddy the Batty Pimblett.
Great name.
And he's from Liverpool, so he's got a thick Scouse accent.
Okay.
And so all of his trash talking videos are hilarious.
Yeah.
That sounded...
I think Corey is hilarious.
Yep, that was it.
I didn't even mean to do that. Play the other one. It's new.
Corey was killing it.
He was killing it, and people were like, "Yeah, right."
So Paddy the Batty Pimblett, and just for funsies, they had him do tongue twisters at a UFC panel thing. And he's a really interesting character. He's got a horrific haircut, and but he's exciting to watch. Apparently, he defeated his opponent in the first round, and he called that it was going to happen.
Wow.
So he's an up and comer that looks like he'll be exciting to follow. He's pretty cocky, like Connor, and but yeah. So I didn't catch it, but I'm gonna try to. UFC, if you follow them on YouTube, they will do free fights. So like with well-known fighters.
Oh, cool.
It's not always immediate. It's not always like a few weeks following. It might be from 2 years ago, but you'll get to see like Khabib fights or like really rare fights that you would have otherwise, Connor fights that you would have otherwise had to have, Nurmagomedov and others like that you would have otherwise had to have pay-per-view to watch. So if you follow UFC on YouTube, you get to catch some pretty cool fights. So that's all I got sports-wise.
Very good.
I think we're good. Wrap it up.
Wrap it.
Wrap it on up to Homelessville. Hey, so we want to hear from you in two ways. First of all, have you ever tried to share something with a loved one or a child? You don't have to have kids for this to apply to you, like a boyfriend or significant other, or girlfriend or whatever. That you've tried to share something with that just didn't, it just fell flat. And then what was the other thing you wanted to hear about?
Yeah,
Dylan?
is anyone rewatching the all the new Marvel shows on Disney Plus? They migrated from Netflix. It's probably a big no, but we'll ask.
All right, we would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in. This is always fun to catch up with you guys and hang out and talk about life and the things that we're doing and watching and experiencing. And thank you to our friends Artius Man for all of the amazing men's grooming products. I encourage you to go get some of those oils and balms and lotions and salves and candles for yourself to take care of your body and beard. That's artiusman.com, ARTIUSMAN.com. Promo code the middle at checkout to get 25% off of your first order. And we really appreciate it. It would help you, it would help us, and it would help Artius Man. It's been fun. Our episodes drop every Wednesday. We'll catch you on the flippity flip, flippity flip, flip.
Check 2. Everybody.
Yeah. I hope you were recording that because that's worthwhile.